You know, guys, yesterday we all heard about the bombshell that, HBO Max and Warner Brothers dropped upon a lot of people, and the response has been very positive, if not somewhat negative, if not somewhat mixed. Now, the mixed part is basically there are a lot of people that are actually happy about this, but there are also some people that are thrilled, but they're not too sure what this means. Like they don't know, what the real end game of the whole situation is. Now, the positive for a lot of people is, they don't have to go to the theaters to see some of these movies, because they can watch them in the comfort of their own home, which is great. That's a tremendous option that they're being given by HBO Max, if they are a subscriber at no extra cost. Also, the fact that, as many people pretty much pointed out when they talked about this, was the fact that, or is the fact that not a lot of people are going to be in a hurry to go back to the theaters because they still might be squeamish or a little bit eerie, if you will, a little bit more hesitant to go back, even if a vaccine is fully distributed by that time frame to millions and billions of people. They're still going to be very hesitant because they don't know, exactly how well the vaccine is going to work, if there will be any, effects, any, like if there's going to be any relapses or, stuff like that. They don't know how fully effective this vaccine is going to be. So for HBO to come out, HBO Max that is, and Warner Brothers to come out and make this announcement, a lot of people are thrilled by it. Now, like I said, you also have people that are in the middle, kind of mixed about it, because, hey, they're happy that they got this option given to them, but when they look at movies like, let's say, Wonder Woman 84, Godzilla vs. Kong, The Suicide Squad, and even, Mortal Kombat, Matrix 4, and even, Space Jam and Tom and Jerry, these are movies that they'd want to see on the big screen because, they kind of radiate that kind of atmosphere, from them. Even though we have not seen many trailers, except for maybe Tom and Jerry, coming from them, and maybe a teaser with Suicide Squad, most of a lot of people look at these movies as having that atmosphere of, hey, you have to see this on the big screen. You have to see this on an IMAX screen, if you really want to enjoy and experience the movie for what it is. So they're kind of like mixed in the middle. Like they're happy to have this option because, they're not sure exactly, like a lot of people, what the end goal is going to be, how effective, the vaccine's going to be in the long run. But they're also, very traditional in the sense that when you have these big blockbusters coming out, the more traditional way to see them is on the big screen, and they want to experience that. So they're kind of like stuck in the middle. But then on the other hand, you have the negative. And that negative is not coming from a lot of consumers, like let's say myself or anybody else. But the negative is mostly coming from the theaters, from the cinemas, like AMC, Cinemark, and many others. Many of them are not happy by this because of the fact that they believe HBO Max in this decision making is stealing away the revenue that they would be getting from ticket sales and from box office numbers on the weekend or throughout the week. Now, one could agree possibly with, the theaters and feeling that, they've been gypped, they've been bamboozled and all that. But then again, I think I was watching a little bit of the live version of John Campea's show today, and John basically said, look, I have no sympathy basically for AMC because AMC is the one that basically kind of started this. They're the ones that, along with Cinemark, made a deal with Universal to go the route that they're going. That, hey, you can release the movie in theaters on the same day you release it, on your streaming platforms, your VODs and all that. But the catch being, it's only for a limited time. Now, when it comes to Cinemark's deal with Universal, it's very identical to AMC, but the big difference is if a movie that's in the theaters, gets a lot of moolah, a lot of money, if you will, box office wise, then it's going to spend an extra week or two in the theaters than what it traditionally would. That's part of the deal. So a lot of people look at AMC and they're like, AMC, people like John Campea, that is, they look at AMC and they're like, AMC, you're the ones that started this when you made that deal. So we don't know what you're crying about. We don't know what you're whining about. You're the ones that were in on this, not that long ago when you made that deal with Universal. But, others could also see it from AMC and Cinemark and other theaters chains outlook by saying, yeah, AMC made that deal with Universal. Cinemark made that deal with Universal. Some other theaters made that deal with Universal. But when it comes to you guys, the only deal that they thought they had in mind was for Wonder Woman 84, and that was it. And then all of a sudden you pull this. So, there are kind of like those that do agree, with the theater owners, with the National Theater Association, NATO, or organization, NATO, because of the fact that, this just came out of nowhere. This just came out of nowhere. But again, there are those, like I said, on the positive end of the spectrum that are happy this is happening because, again, there might be a lot of people, probably more so than we can count, that'll be hesitant, if not squeamish, to go back to the theaters, even when the vaccine is fully distributed, because they don't know if there's going to be a relapse in the vaccine. They don't know what the effects are going to be. They don't know how effective it will be. So they might be a little squeamish and hesitant. So they're happy to have this option. But we're also looking at the same group of people that are happy to have this option because of that, even along with those that are happy to have the option, even though they kind of traditionally would like to experience these big blockbuster films on the big screen, so they could be fully immersed. Even though they're all glad with this option, the one thing that they all agree on, even those that kind of like are in the middle, the one thing that they will side with the positive side, with the positive people, the people that are for this, the one thing they will side and agree with them on is that AMC has no one to blame but themselves. AMC, Cinemark, and all the other chains, have no one to blame, but themselves for what's going on because they're the ones that made the deal with Universal. Now, again, there are some that basically will agree, mostly those that work in the theater business, mostly those that work with the National Theater Organization or Association, that basically will come out and say, yeah, we understand that AMC does have a fault in this, does take the blame, but they, along with all the other theater chains out there, along with us overall, the NATO, we were promised just a one-time deal when it came to Wonder Woman. We weren't aware of this happening, which is now why AMC is going to be in contact with the WB and be like, guys, you told us this, but now you're doing this, so we need to work something else out. Because here's the thing, AMC is going to want a piece of that revenue. They're going to want a piece of that revenue. And I don't know what the deal is going to entail, but they want a piece of that revenue. The point is, this decision, this bombshell, this nuclear bombshell that, HBOMAX and Warner Brothers dropped on us yesterday, it's gotten pretty much 75% positive reaction, 25% negative reaction, and, or should I say okay, it's got 70% positive, it's got 5% in the middle, and 30%, that is negative, or 25% that is negative. So you got 70% that's positive, 5% in the middle, that's kind of like in between, or mixed, and you got 25% that's negative. And, again, this kind of, and again, it's all up to the perspective of how you view it. I mean, you got people that, like I said, John Campea, that's not feeling sorry for AMC because they made the deal with Universal. But then again, you do kind of see, maybe along with those that, side with the theater chains, you kind of see it from their perspective, like, hey, we were promised one thing and then you go and do this behind our backs. That's not right. But here's the thing that a lot of people point out when it comes to these. here's the one thing that they point out. What is stated in the statement put out by Warner Brothers and HBO Max. And that is, this is a 1-year temporary deal because of the pandemic. Because basically, and the reason it is that way is because they're aware that even with the vaccine on its way, I mean, Pence pretty much said in a report today that it should be 1.5 weeks and we should have something. But basically, you have the people at Warner Brothers saying, look, this is just a temporary 1-year solution because even though the vaccine's coming and it will be fully distributed by the time a lot of these movies are out, there are still going to be people that are hesitant and squeamish about going to theaters because they don't know exactly how well this vaccine's going to work. So that's why they're doing this. What they're doing is they're giving this whole vaccine and getting out of this pandemic, even that people predict we should be out of by mid-spring, early summer. They're giving it a year. They're giving it a year's run. They're giving it a year-long, window to be cleared before they go back to regular theaters only, to a regular theater only directive. Now, here's the thing though. Here's the other question that some people will ask. Is this going to blow up in HBO Max and Warner Brothers' face? And that's a good question because no one really knows. The same could be asked about Universal. Will their deal with AMC and Cinemark and other theaters chains blow up in their face? We don't know. Because the reason people are asking this is once you make this proposal, yes, one, it is about driving business upwards and becoming the #1 place for streaming content and streaming the best content. There's no doubt about that. It's a business, it's a strategic business strategy and probably one of the best ones to ever come out of nowhere from any streaming service. We can't deny that. But also the fact that, comic book, not comic book cast, but Black Nerd Comedy, Andre Meadows, he basically stated, in a sense, he kind of asked the question and stated, is this going to blow up in their face? Because a lot of people are going to become so accustomed to having this option that once you notify them that the year-long run is coming to an end in December of 2021 or November of 2021, not a lot of people are going to be happy. A lot of people, there are some folks that are talking about this, I'm pretty sure, are talking about this, that are mentioning that there's a good chance a lot of people will protest. They will petition that HBO Max, Disney Plus, Hulu, all these people, all these streaming sites, keep this routine going for good. And it's going to be because they become so accustomed to watching the movie on their screen at home. Whether they have a 40-inch, 32-inch, 70-inch, 4K, 8K, television, they become so used to watching it at home that they're going to feel like, hey, we don't need to go out in the theaters and go out to the theaters and watch it anymore. We could just watch it in the comfort of our own home. So the question is this going to blow up in HBO Max's face? Time will only tell. And I think that's why, some people that are defending the National Theaters organization's stance on this, are kind of, stance on this, are kind of trying to probably, make, HBO Max and Warner Brothers realize that, hey, if you do this for a year, look, that's fine, especially if it's for because of the pandemic, that's fine. But you do realize that once you take this away, it's probably going to blow up in your face because people are going to become so accustomed to watching it at home. Now, there are some people that have come out and said it's about the revenue. It's about, of course, driving up subscription numbers and all that, but it's also about the revenue that they can get combined with the box office revenue. And, that might be a good strategy because once you make an announcement like this, and I'm just checking something there, but once you make an announcement like this, it's going to get people's attention. They're going to be like, whoa, HBO Max is doing this for a year. Sign me up. Sign me up. I'll take the year-long plan. Sign me up. And they'll do the year-long plan. They'll sacrifice whatever, how much the year-long plan is, just to be able to watch those movies. But again, and I go back to what I was just saying, I think this is where theaters and people siding with the theater's stance on this are trying to pinpoint to Warner Brothers, in the decision that, hey, this is a great idea and we understand why you're doing it. We may not be thrilled with it, but we understand. But you got to also realize this might blow up in your face, so you got to be careful. And again, like I said, it's a time will tell kind of scenario with this decision. But yeah, again, it's, you got basically a lot of people are talking about this, giving their opinions on how they feel this is going to go, with understanding why it's happening, and all that. You got people that like the idea, like having the option. You got those that are not liking the option, mostly the theater owners and those supporting the theaters, and probably also at the same time, while they're supporting it, pinpointing or pointing at the fact that this could blow up in a big way in HBO Max and Warner Brothers' faces if they're not careful. And then you got those in the middle that are like, hey, we like the idea, but we also like the theater experience. So, yeah, this thing's got people talking. Thing's got people talking, like it's got me and everybody else that I've watched talk about it talking. But what do you guys think? What do you think about this decision by HBO Max and Warner Brothers to do what they've done? And do you think there's a possibility it could blow up in their face? Or do you think there's a good chance people will understand that, hey, this is just a one-year deal. It's a temporary solution because of what's happening with the pandemic? Let me know down below. Comment if you like. I'd like to hear what each and every one of you have to say on this. And I'm out.